and welcome to Sammy's Bookshelf. This week I'm doing another reading vlog because I am participating in another readathon. The readathon I'm doing is the Thrillathon, which is a Halloween-inspired readathon where I have to try and read some spooky books. So you're probably wondering what this is behind me. So for this readathon, the hosts, which I'll have all their channels in the description, they created these templates for the readathon. So I've printed them out and I've stuck them on this wall so that I can keep track of all my reads. So here are all the prompts that are laid out in a bingo style, and I also printed out some of these pumpkin little circle thingy-mabobbies so that I can put them on the prompt when I have completed it. And I've also printed out this wrap-up template where after I finish a book for this readathon, I'm going to add my book onto the blank spots of these templates so we can see all the books that I have read. I printed out 2 of these, so I have 8 spots to fill because I feel like being optimistic is key. So the readathon has actually already begun. In my time, it began at 4 p.m. today, which is a Saturday. I have not read anything yet because number 1, I was creating this, and I also stayed up very late last night finishing my reread of Clockwork Princess, so I also ended up taking a nap, so I have not read a single page yet, but that is about to change because I am about to start reading right now. But first, I'm actually going to go through some of the books that I'm thinking about reading for this week. I don't have a set TBR because I've decided for this readathon to just wing it, but I did take from my bookshelf a whole bunch of books that could potentially complete these prompts, and really just any books that are just kind of spooky-ish. So now that I'm on the couch in a more comfortable position, I'm going to show you the books that I've picked out for this readathon. Pretty much what I did is I went to my bookshelf and picked out all the books that fit into the spooky theme of the readathon. So I'm just going to go through really quickly and show you all the books that I picked out. First, we have The Coldest Girl in Coldtown by Holly Black, Grim Lovelies by Megan Shepherd, Daughter of Deep Silence by Carrie Ryan, There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins, Sadie by Courtney Summers, The Dead List by Jennifer L. Armentrout, Dry by Neil Schusterman and Jared Schusterman, and last but not least, Labyrinth Lost by Zoraida Cordova. There's a very good chance that I pronounced that completely wrong. A little plot twist. I'm a big mood reader, and I am really in the mood to read Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. This is not a spooky book, it's a romance book, and I've been meaning to read it for quite some time now, but I've been kind of putting it off because I've been waiting for the right time to read it. And one of the prompts is actually read a book that you've been putting off. I'm going to use Punk 57 for that prompt, but then after I read Punk 57, I will definitely read one of these books that I just showed you. Anyway, let's get to reading. So it's a couple hours later and I've made a start on Punk 57. I haven't got too far in because I'm kind of tired, and when I'm tired I tend to read really slow, so I'm kind of going at a snail's pace, but it's okay. It's the first day of the readathon, we're in no rush, but in about 8 minutes there are going to be some reading sprints. I'm going to join in on those and hopefully, oh hello Pluto, so hopefully I can get some reading done during those sprints. I might not stay. Oh my goodness, there's some drama going on with the dogs right now. Luna is not happy that Pluto has arrived on the scene. She does not like to be disturbed while she's resting, and now she's upset and growling at Pluto pretty much for no reason. He's really doing nothing wrong. He's just a poor innocent dog. But anyway, hopefully I can get some good reading done during these sprints. I think what I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted by my puppy, because I don't think I'm going to stay for the whole reading sprint because it goes for about 4 hours, I think, and I need to go to bed at some point. I might stay for maybe 1 or 2 hours.
I'm still reading Throne of Glass from last night because
nice.
Haven't really done much.
10 p.m. Wow.
10.
So I have completed my first prompt, which is to make a hot beverage. I even put some whipped cream in my hot chocolate, and yes, I did buy whipped cream specifically for this point in the video, knowing I'd have to make a hot beverage because why not? So it's 8:40 p.m. on Sunday night, and today has been a little bit of a fail. My plan for today was I was going to get up, I was going to edit my video, and then once I'd edited my video, I was going to just read for the rest of the day and try and finish Punk 57. Well, that did not happen. Editing my video took longer than I thought it was because my computer is very, very slow, and every time I try and do anything, it pinwheels for like 5 minutes, so that took forever. And now here we are, it's 8:40 and haven't read a single page. But last night I got through a chunk of the book. I ended up getting to page 116 of Punk 57, which when I think back, I thought I read more, but I was really tired and I was reading really slow, so that's probably why I didn't get through actually that much. I'm liking the book so far. It's nothing too amazing right now, but I'm still very early on in the book, so that could very much change. There are a couple of bits in the book where I kind of found myself laughing at the book. Not laughing with the book, laughing at the book. I think there are 2 spots in particular where I kind of laughed at the book, but we'll see how it is going forward. But for the rest of the night, I'm going to continue reading. I can't stay up too late tonight because it's Monday tomorrow. I have a class at 9 a.m, so I'm only going to get to read for a couple of hours, so I definitely won't get Punk 57 finished today, but hopefully I'll be able to get it done tomorrow. Fingers crossed. So it is Monday today, so it is officially the 3rd day of the Readathon, and I'm not gonna lie, the first 2 days of the Readathon were kind of a flop for me, but it's 4 p.m. now and I'm about to do some reading sprints, so hopefully during these sprints I can get a good chunk of reading done. I'm just over halfway through Punk 57. It's sitting at maybe a 3 stars or a 3.5 stars right now. Right at this moment, it's not quite living up to my expectations, although maybe my expectations are just a bit too high because there's been so much hype surrounding this book. But I still have about half the book to go, so that could very much all change. After sprints, I'm going to keep reading, and I am determined to finish Punk 57 today and then start a new book tomorrow. And I'm hoping to maybe start a smaller book that I can finish in one day to kind of make up for the fact it took me quite a long time to finish Punk 57 because I didn't read that much yesterday and the day before. Officially finished my first book of the Readathon. I did some sprints earlier in the day like you saw, and then after the sprints ended, I kept reading until I finished. I ended up giving Punk 57 a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I kind of feel like it didn't quite live up to the hype. I think my expectations were a little too high. So it's 10:44 now, so I'm probably not going to start anything new, but I do have this stack of books that I need to pick my next read from, so I'll probably do that tomorrow. I feel like this reading vlog has kind of been boring, but there's really not much to film because I'm in lockdown and I've just been reading, and I feel like there's a certain limit to just how many reading montages one can put in one reading vlog. So I feel like this has been a pretty uneventful reading vlog, but hopefully throughout the week things will get more interesting. I'm going to read more spooky books now, so it's more on theme with the Readathon. But I'm still happy that I started with Punk 57. I managed to finish the prompt, read a book you've been putting off, so that's 2 out of 9 prompts that I've finished. It is now time to pick my next read for the Readathon. It's about 8 p.m. I had quite a few uni classes today, so I didn't read a lot during the day, but I have no classes tomorrow, so I'm going to stay up late reading and I'll be able to read all day tomorrow. I originally wanted to try and start and finish a book today. I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish a book today. Like I said, it's already 8 p.m, but I'm going to try my best. I have 3 contenders here, and Oopsies. I have 3 contenders here for my next book, and these are the shortest books that I have in my TBR stack. So we have There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins, and this is a slasher. I then have Sadie, which is a psychological thriller, and then The Dead List by Jennifer L. Armentrout, which is also a thriller. The shortest of these books is There's Someone Inside Your House, but I'm not quite in the mood for this book right now. I definitely am going to get to this book at some point during this readathon because a adaptation of this book just released on Netflix. I had no idea they were even doing a movie adaptation, and I've actually already read this book, but it was a couple years ago when it first came out, and I don't really remember it that well. I actually watched the trailer for the Netflix film, and it did make me remember a couple of little things, but for the most part, I've pretty much forgotten most of it, so I definitely want to get to this book at some point in the readathon, but I don't think I'm really in the mood for it right now. So now it's between Sadie and The Dead List. Sadie sounds super interesting, and it's also a book I really want to get to at some point in the readathon because it's been on my shelf for quite a while, but I think I'm actually going to go with The Dead List. When I read the synopsis, this one just kind of makes me a little bit more excited. I'm more in the mood for this book right now, even though all the Jennifer L. Armentrout books I've read this year have disappointed me. I just can't stay away from her addictive writing. This is about a girl named Alla who was mysteriously attacked on her way home from a party, and she finds herself in the middle of an attempted murder investigation. I think I can get through this book pretty quickly. It's just over 300 pages, so it's very short. My dogs are here. Oh! Pluto! You're crazy! So I'm gonna go feed these cheeky puppies, and then I'm going to start The Dead List. I'm going to try and finish this book today if I can. If I can't, then I'll definitely finish it tomorrow and also pick up another book tomorrow. Let's read. Okay, so I'm on page 52 of The Dead List, and there's a romance in this book, and we're getting to know the love interest a bit better. And I said this when I reviewed The Problem with Forever by Jennifer L. Armentrout. It was just mentioned that these two characters haven't talked to each other in years and years. They used to be close when they were kids, but they haven't spoken to each other in years, and he's just like all up in her personal space. Like, again, it's like the same with The Problem with Forever. Like, why did Jennifer L. Armentrout's characters have no sense of personal space? It drives me crazy. I don't like it when they're already acting like boyfriend and girlfriend on page 50. Anyway, other than that, I'm actually really liking this book. It's very intriguing so far. I'm gonna keep reading.
5 minutes later.
Okay, so another quick update. I just finished the chapter that I was on, and as I read, there was some justification as to why he was getting so close to her, because he's teaching her self-defense. So then I was like, okay, maybe this isn't too bad. But then as I kept going, I reverted back to my original opinion. Like I said, these two characters haven't talked to each other in, like, I think she said 4 years, and the main character always thought that he didn't like her. And I said this again with The Problem with Forever, because in both those books, these characters have been separated for quite a while, like a couple years. And so I feel like if someone used to be really close to, you hadn't seen them or talked to them in 4 years, and then you all of a sudden were kind of forced into close proximity, I feel like it wouldn't just go right back to being like really smooth conversation or like really flirty if it's a love interest. Like, I feel like it would be awkward. They should have to get to know each other again, but I just feel like they're not acting the way that you would act when you have a history with someone and you left off on bad terms. Everything else in this book is good. I'm really enjoying the mystery. So it's the next morning, and I thought that I would update you on how much I read last night. So I didn't get to finish the book. I got nowhere near, but I got halfway. My thoughts on the book so far: I'm not enjoying the romance, which you can probably tell from my a million rants from last night. The mystery is good. The murder mystery is good. I think I may have predicted the ending, but also this book kind of isn't engaging me as much as I want to. I think the reason why I didn't really manage to get more than halfway last night is because the book just wasn't holding my attention. Like, I would take a break between like every chapter because it's not a page turner for me, and it's also very similar to a lot of other psychological thrillers that I've read. I think it's actually very similar to another Jennifer Armentrout psychological thriller that I read a couple years ago, so it's maybe sitting right now to like a 2.5 out of 5 stars. I hate giving books less than 3 stars because I always feel really guilty, but I am going to persevere and finish it. It could pick up in the second half, and I think my plan for today is I'm going to finish the Dead List, and then I think I'm going to start another book afterwards later on tonight, and I'm going to start The Coldest Girl in Coldtown by Holly Black. Once I finish the Dead List, I will have ticked off 2 more prompts. I would have ticked off read a mystery book and read a thriller book, and then reading The Coldest Girl in Coldtown, I'm hoping to get a good way through this today when I start it tonight. Coldest Girl in Coldtown is a horror book according to Google, and so I'm going to use this for 3 prompts. I'm going to use it for read a scary book, and then I'm also going to use it for the prompts read a paranormal because this has vampires in it, and I'm going to use it for the prompt read a book that's out of your comfort zone because I've never actually read a horror book, so it's out of my comfort zone. Perfect. 3 prompts done. Then I have 2 more prompts after that to complete after I finish The Coldest Girl in Coldtown, but I'll talk more about that later on. Let's just focus on these 2 books for now. It's 11:25, and at 12 p.m. there are going to be some live sprints, so I think I'm going to join in on those. I'm really enjoying joining in on the sprints. I actually get quite a bit of productive reading done, and it's kind of nice to like read with other people. It's really fun, but I still have about half an hour till those sprints start, so I think I'm going to get a head start and start reading the Dead List right now, and then at 12 p.m. I will join in on the sprints.
A few moments later.
So one of my first videos, I did a wrap up, and I talked about how I read a Jennifer Armentrout series. It was the Storm and Fury series, and I talked about how in every single book, Jennifer Armentrout always references Supernatural. It's so many times that you can reference Supernatural. Reference a different show. Like, I don't want to hear any more about Sam and Dean. What I just read. He pulled a slender case from his bag, holding it between 2 long fingers. Supernatural Season 1, he announced. My lips broke into a wide smile and I clapped. Nice. Why another Supernatural reference? I don't even know what to say. I'm just speechless. I can't believe there's another Supernatural reference. Okay, so I just finished the Dead List. I read most of what I had left of the book on the sprints, and then by the time the sprints ended, I had about 30 pages left, so I just finished reading it, and I'm done. I think I'm going to give this book a 3 out of 5 stars. It did pick up a lot in the second half. I was definitely enjoying the second half more than the first half, and I did guess the ending of the book to a certain extent. There was actually something that happened right at the end that I actually didn't guess, so props to Jennifer Armentrout because usually I'm really good at guessing plot twists. I did guess some of the plot twists. Like I guessed like 3/4 of the plot twist. It was good, but not amazing. I mean, in probably a month's time, this book will probably blend in with all the other YA psychological thrillers that I've read. By the time the second half came around, I could kind of look past the fact that I didn't like the romance. So now it's time to check off some of the prompts. So we have a bit of a dilemma. So I need to put up a picture of the Dead List and these 2 little bingo token things up on the wall on my templates. But the other day when I was sticking things up on the wall, I forgot to put the lid back on my glue, and now the glue has dried out and it is unusable. And I don't have any other glue in the house or really anything else to stick pieces of paper onto other pieces of paper. But the other day, I was scrolling through TikTok and I saw someone make DIY stickers using baking paper and tape. So I'm going to attempt to do the same thing and make a sticker out of these so that I can put it up on the wall. Let's see if this works. So how it's supposed to work is you get your parchment paper and you get some tape. Then you're supposed to put some pieces of tape onto the parchment paper. This is way too long. Let's cut this in half. And then you put the stickers on where you put the tape, and then you cover that with more tape. Then you're supposed to just cut the stickers out. So I'm going to do that. I don't think this worked. You're supposed to like pull this off and it's supposed to be sticky on the back, but it didn't work. Unless I did it wrong. Okay, so the DIY with the sticker didn't work at all, so I just had to tape it normally onto the board, and this one looks pretty ugly because I tried to like still do the sticker thing, but like put the tape over it like that, and I just made it look ugly. So I just did the thing with the tape where you roll it so it's like sticky on both sides and put it on the back and stuck it on, and it doesn't look nearly as nice and neat as this one does, but it got the job done. So now I have 4 prompts completed and 2 books read. So this has been a pretty productive day. Okay, so it's about 10:30 p.m. and I'm just about to start reading Coldest Girl in Coldtown. I can stay up till about 1:30, so I'm going to try and read as much as I can in the next few hours. I'm not sure how far I will get through. There are no reading sprints for me to join tonight. I feel like when I'm on reading sprints, I am so much more productive in reading. Like when I was doing reading sprints earlier today, like I was just flying through my book, and I think it's because each reading sprint I feel like I'm in competition with myself, and each sprint goes by I want to try and read more pages than I read in the previous sprint. I do think there are going to be some more sprints in the next coming days as the readathon wraps up, so that's exciting. Let's read. Pluto, cuddle, cuddle. Oh, thank you. Pluto. Oh. Cuddles. Oh, I love cuddles. Okay, so it is now Thursday, and last night I didn't really manage to get too much of the way through the Coldest Girl in Coldtown, at least not as much as I wanted to, because I was getting really tired and none of the information was computing in my brain because all I wanted to do was sleep. So I managed to get this far through the book, so I got up to page 85, which isn't awful, but I did want to read halfway and I got absolutely nowhere near. And I do want to try and finish this book today. I don't know if I'm going to be able to actually finish it today like I wanted to, but I'm going to try my very best. But I'm really enjoying this book. It's sitting at about a 4 stars right now. Something that I've really been enjoying about this book is it gets right into the action, and I feel like normally in books like this we have like quite a couple chapters of world building and backstory until it gets like the big turning point in the plot where everything starts happening. But in this book we get started straight away, and it alternates between present day where we're seeing Tanner and everything that's going on, and then flashing back to backstory and world building about the world, and also just about Tanner's backstory. But today is a really great day because there are actually 2 sprints that I can participate in. One is at about 10 minutes, and then I think there's another one at 10 p.m. I'll have to check the little schedule thing because I've forgotten. Hopefully I get this book done. Wish me luck.
Sammy, 42 pages. That's really good. Nice.
Hello, it is very late. I finished The Coldest Girl in Coldtown. I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. The world was so interesting. Like I said before, I love how it was structured. Good night. I'm going to sleep now. I'll see you in the morning. It's time to update the wall. So I have the Coldest Girl in Coldtown book cover stuck on, and now I'm going to add a token onto read a scary book because The Coldest Girl in Coldtown is listed as a horror book. Next I'm going to tick off read a paranormal since Coldest Girl in Coldtown has vampires. And last but not least, The Coldest Girl in Coldtown, like I said before, is considered a horror book, and I have never read a horror book before, so I'm also using that book to complete the prompt, read a book that's out of your comfort zone. As you saw before, I started reading There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins, which is a slasher, and it's really short, so I'm hoping to finish it today. Time to do what I do best and read this book in one sitting.
I hope your first sprint is productive in some way.
Yes.
So it is Saturday night, the Readathon ends tomorrow, and last night I finished There's Someone Inside Your House. As you saw, I managed to finish it during sprints. I was really happy that I managed to finish it. This book was really good. I enjoyed it just as much as I enjoyed it the first time. Granted, it's been so long since I originally read it that it was kind of like reading it for the first time. This book is really fast paced. It was written really well. I felt all the emotions and fear that the characters went through. The last 50 pages, my heart was racing. I love the length of this book. It's like 280 something pages. It's really short, but it's the perfect length to tell the story. The pacing was great. There was never a dull moment, and I really liked that. I feel like it being a slasher, it needs to be fast paced. I'm so impressed also with Stephanie Perkins because this is very different from Anna and the French Kiss. I also really enjoyed the romance. This book is great. Like, I had so much fun reading this, and I loved reading it in one sitting. I loved just reading it all in one go and getting the full story in one go. I think if you have the opportunity to just read this book in one sitting, go for it. And then also, as you saw, I watched the Netflix adaptation because the reason I wanted to reread this book is because I wanted it fresh in my mind for when I watched the adaptation. But the movie was not good. I already had pretty low expectations going in because I saw some of the reviews and I saw the Rotten Tomatoes score. It has a 49% on Rotten Tomatoes. So I already had very low expectations going in, and I still feel like my low expectations were too high. I feel like lately I've watched so many fantastic adaptations. In my last reading vlog, I watched Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, which was fantastic. I watched the Looking for Alaska TV show adaptation early in the year, which was also phenomenal. And the Shadow and Bone Netflix adaptation that came out this year was also really great. And so I feel like we've been spoiled lately with how great adaptations have been. So I feel like even though I had low expectations going in, they were still kind of high because I've watched so many great adaptations. They pretty much changed everything from the book. Like, the killer is different. The motive for why he's killing people is different. They didn't do as good of a job telling the story as Stephanie Perkins did. And also a lot of the characters were different. Like, they had the same names, but their personalities and like their role in the story was all different. There are lots of scenes that were just like, what's even the point of this? Like, it kind of felt unnecessary, whereas every scene in this book is necessary, as it should be in any book or movie. Every single scene should be pushing forward the plot. And it was also just like, a lot of the scenes were really cringy. Like in the movie, the main character writes poetry and she just starts reciting her own poetry like randomly in one scene. And I guess it's supposed to make her seem like deep and insightful and make everything meaningful, but it's just cringy. I think if I was going to use like a Rotten Tomatoes percentage scaling, I would give it like a 30%. So moving on, originally my plan was to read Sadie by Courtney Summers after I read There's Someone Inside Your House, but I haven't been reading a lot today because I've been editing and I have exams to study for, and so I haven't read at all today, and it's almost midnight, and I'm definitely not going to get to read a lot tomorrow, and the readathon ends tomorrow. So I could just read this now and I probably wouldn't get to finish it, but I could at least make a start. But knowing me, this book is so short, like I will just stay up all night and finish it, and there's only so many nights in a row that I can stay up as late as I have been. Like, I'm tired. So I actually came up with a new plan, and I've decided that I'm actually going to read a couple of short stories. But I can maybe get through a couple of short stories tonight and still add them to my wrap up, but I don't have to commit to a full novel. So I did a bit of Googling and I found two anthologies. One is called Defy the Night and the other is called Grim. And Defy the Night is just a bunch of spooky stories, I think, that are set at nighttime, and Grim is a bunch of spooky stories inspired by the Grimm brothers fairy tales. So they're fairy tales but with a dark twist. I'll read a couple from Grim, a couple from Defy the Night, and those will probably be the last reads of my Thrillathon. So I just finished my first short story. I'm actually on reading sprints right now, if you can see that. But the first one that I picked is called Beast Beast. It's like Beast/Beast. And I picked this one because it seemed to be based on Beauty and the Beast. And I can never say no to a Beauty and the Beast retelling. They're my favorite types of retellings. I really enjoyed the short story. I just wish that it was longer. And I know it's a short story, but it was only 10 pages. So I feel like I was just getting into it as the story ended, and it was just kind of hard to connect to the characters because the story was so short. So maybe I'd give this short story like a 3 out of 5 stars, but it's really hard to rate a short story because it's so short. Now I'm going to read a short story from Defy the Dark, and I think I'm going to read Courtney Summers' short story. She has a short story here called Sleep Stalk, which is about 10 pages. I just finished my second short story, and this one was also good. It was more creepy than the first one, which I really liked. I'd probably also give that one a 3 stars as well. I don't really know what else to say because I feel like there's not much I can tell you about a short story. I don't really know how to critique a short story, but I'm probably going to stay up for only another hour, so I might read one more short story from each anthology. Just finished another short story, and I read Better by Sean David Hutchison, and it was 12 pages, and I think this is my favorite short story that I've read so far. I believe it was a retelling of Pinocchio, but with a sci-fi twist, and the ending was so good, but like really disturbing, but it's like, that's what you want in a grim fairy tale. I feel like it was just the perfect length. I didn't get to the end and wish there was more. Like, I was very happy with the length and the story that was told. This one gets like a 4 out of 5 stars. So I'm gonna read one more short story before I go to bed. It's by Rachel Hawkins, and she wrote the Rebel Belle trilogy, which I read a couple years ago, and I really enjoyed it. It was a really great trilogy, and this is called Eyes in the Dark, and this is from the Defy the Dark anthology. I finished finished the short story and it was another really good one. I think it's another one that I would give 4 stars to. It was actually scary. That's what I wanted from these anthologies. I'm going to go to bed now, but tomorrow I will probably do a wrap up and go through all the books that I read for this readathon. It is officially the end of the Thrillathon, so it's time to do a little wrap up and show you all the books that I managed to read during the week of the Readathon. The first book that I read was Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas, and I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I then began reading some books that were actually on theme with the Thrillathon. Next book I read was a thriller, and that was The Dead List by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. I then read my first horror book, which was The Coldest Girl in Coldtown by Holly Black, and I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. And then I followed that up with reading There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins, which I gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Finally, I then read 4 short stories. 2 were from the anthology called Grimm, which was edited by Christine Johnson, and the other 2 short stories were from the anthology Defy the Dark, which was edited by Saundra Mitchell. So if we take a look at the wall, I managed to finish every single prompt, and I managed to read 4 novels and 4 short stories. I also want to say thank you to the hosts of this readathon. They all did such a great job to creating the templates, to creating a sprint schedule so we could all read together. They all did such a great job of hosting this readathon, so thank you. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you participated in the Thrillathon, tell me what your favorite spooky book that you read was, and I'll see you next time. Bye!